Hey, Connor.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well.
All right.
All right. We don't have anything witty or clever to open up this week's podcast. But we did want to announce a couple of things. There's been a rebirth and rebranding of the podcast. We're no longer known as Not the Experts. Instead, we're known a little bit more appropriately as Definitely the Experts.
You know it.
Yeah, we had to switch over to YouTube after SoundCloud stopped put a limit on the amount of audio we could upload there, and we weren't about to pay for that. So we changed everything over, and in the meantime, we hauled over the podcast a little bit to differentiate ourselves, because there's definitely Not the Experts podcast already on YouTube. So we changed the name a little bit and moved everything over to YouTube. So you can literally smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the bell for notifications.
Yeah, there you go. Hit the bell. Leave a funny comment.
Comment who your favorite football player is.
Your favorite football player of all time. I'll throw mine out there. My favorite football player. Oh gosh, it has to be. I don't know. I'll think of it. Connor, you got one off the top?
My perennial favorite is Seneca Wallace.
Ooh, Seneca Wallace. That's a good one.
I think since I saw him throw that sidearm. I don't even know what you want to call it. It really wasn't a pass.
It was more of it was a, hey, look, how much you want to bet I can throw that football over a mountain?
Yeah, that sidearm Uncle Rico. He has ever since he threw that wearing a Packers uniform, and like immediately after that, just tore his ball sack and was out for the rest of the season. That's when I knew that Seneca was going to be my guy, my ride or die, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta go washed up Green Bay Packers off-season pickup free agent quarterback Vince Young.
Another perennial favorite. Mr. I didn't watch the DVD of plays, the blank DVD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and Michael Vick. So basically the same.
So anyway, we've got a YouTube channel now. We also have a Facebook page. It's at Definitely the Experts. Also an Instagram. Also handle at the Definitely the Experts. So find us there. We also have a Patreon. And I just want to explain first of all that I don't really expect to make any money off of doing this. I don't think either of us really do, but the Patreon is there just because we do try to take time out of our day every week to talk to the people that want to hear our voices and, air our opinions over the radio waves here. So Patreon is up there if anybody decides that they want to get a little drunk and, fade us $1 or $2. It's up there. It's an option for anybody.
For a mere $1 a month, if you pledge $1 a month to definitely the Experts, for $1 a month, we will give you, once you get behind the paywall, we'll give you exclusive access behind the scenes into the studios, I should say. Here where we're recording this podcast, we got our 2 satellite offices, and one in the Green Bay area, one in the Madison, Wisconsin area. So. Yeah, for a measly $1 a month, you can come and tour the facilities.
If you become a premium subscriber for the low price of $10 a month, I'll read the entire Dark Tower series in ASMR. If you're willing to give us $10 a month, just want to
the what? What is ASMR? What are you saying?
Do you know what ASMR is?
No, what is it?
Oh.
I feel like I've seen that abbreviation, but
yeah. So I don't know what the abbreviation actually stands for. It's like an actual. I actually don't even know if it's a scientific term. I don't know if it's a term somebody just made up, but it's when somebody like whispers really quietly, and it like makes your like somebody has a soft voice and it makes you feel calmer. or makes you feel all tingly. Do you know what that is? You ever experienced that?
Hello?
Hi. Hello.
All right, you cut out, but we're back.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Well, all right. ASMR, got it.
Yeah. Well, so you didn't hear any of that.
I got the gist of it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
For $50, I don't know, I'll sign something for you.
For $100 a month,
I'll give you my signed. I'll sign my dream shirt from the movie. That was a custom replica from the movie Roller Town. $50 a month.
For $100 a month, I'll be your friend.
For $200 a month, I'll be your friend.
For the low price of $200 every single month, you can have both of us as your friend. Okay, so anyway, yeah, we're going to let that go. So
give us money for not shouting into the void, but speaking into the void, basically.
That's right. So anyway, I just wanted to explain that up front. We have all this stuff here now, so you can actually like our stuff. So with that, it dawned on me that a lot of people maybe aren't aware of exactly what daily fantasy is. So I just wanted to take some time to sort of explain what it is that we're doing every single week, because we sort of just roll into it. And yeah, so I guess just to start off, we use DraftKings, and so daily fantasy you can play it on a couple of different platforms here, namely FanDuel or DraftKings.
If either of those two companies want to sponsor us, we'll switch to one or the other forever.
That's right.
Just a plug.
At DraftKings, at FanDuel. So pretty much what it entails, you can play a couple of different variants on the platforms, but the one that we do is pretty standard. You get a salary cap of $50,000, and with that $50,000, you pretty much have to pick a fantasy roster of people, and go up against other people to see who performs better. Essentially, that's the bare bones explanation of it. So you get a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, flex, defense, special teams usually. And yeah, so what we do is we play a variant of draft or of daily fantasy that's called a cash game. And a cash game can pretty much be explained as a form of daily fantasy where half the group is usually able to take the money from that game. So we do head-to-head, so obviously half the pool is going to take the money. But other versions of it are like this cash game that I usually play is a double up. So you'll bet like $5 or something, and half the prize pool will win $10. So half the people that enter this contest will win, their money plus another $5 back. And with playing these games, typically you try to and what we kind of do in this podcast is we talk about people that are typically supposed to have high floors, is what the term is, and what that means is this person generally performs at a level that's fairly consistent, and you kind of know what you're going to get with them, and that production that you're going to get is fairly high, or reasonably high, I should say. So they aren't necessarily going to lay an egg for you very frequently, and that's kind of the cast and crew that you want to be operating with in these kind of games. See, the other type of game is called a guaranteed prize pool game, or GPP, or tournament. And in these games, I think typically it pays out to the top 10% is what it is. So these games, you usually win a lot more money when you do win, but obviously it's a little bit more difficult to play in these games because fewer people win. And typically in these games, you have to use some more complex strategies and gambling techniques in order to come out on top. And with that, we really don't talk about it in this podcast, so I don't think we really need to go into it. But you get into the whole idea of like, well, if everybody's playing this person, you probably need to play a different person, because if everybody plays the same person except one person who plays somebody who performs slightly better than you, then they're obviously going to win. And it doesn't matter that you came really close because everybody had that person. So without going too far into that, because I don't think we really need to, since we don't really participate in tournament plays, that's kind of the gist of what we do. Do you want to add anything to that, Sam?
Yeah, I think cash games definitely would be my strong suit. The little bit I poked around in tournaments, I realize I don't have a full grasp on, I guess, strategy in having effective tournament lineups. So I don't really feel. If we were to talk about tournament lineups and roster construction, for that context, definitely I don't think we're not going to have a lot of success. We're not going to live up to our new name. That would fall under the not the experts. But we're talking definitely the experts, and we're definitely experts at cash games.
Definitely.
And some of the other variations, I guess I didn't realize there was other variations until this year, and I don't know if there might have been, the previous couple of years that have been playing DraftKings, but I was only familiar with the standard. You pick 9 players, and it's a PPR, point per reception game. I think there's some other scoring variations or roster selection variations where you can do. At least this is what DraftKings offers, where instead of having a set budget and then you draft players, you basically use up your money however you want on different players. You can just select your players are differentiated by just by tiers. And you pick one guy from each tier or something like that, which, I don't know, it kind of simplifies your roster construction, makes it a little simpler. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember, but I think there's another version where you just pick whoever. Or maybe I'm...
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. There's definitely... There's a ton of variants in DraftKings that I haven't even tried. Like, I was just looking at the app, I think, last weekend, and it was like, man, there's a ton of shit in here that, like, I haven't even tried to explore. Like, tiers, like, there's, like, this
what I was just talking about.
like,
ooh.
Yeah.
QB Gunslinger, presented by Red Dead Redemption 2. Create a lineup of 6 quarterbacks.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'm gonna find a free game and see what that's all about. I mean, I think that's just this week. This might just be a special thing since it's sponsored by whatever. Yeah. All right, so I'm doing this off the cuff, and here's my lineup. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff. We'll get into more of the reasoning later. Give me Alex Smith. How much money I got? I got
Andy Dalton.
Oh yeah, give me Andy Dalton. All right, I got 2 quarterbacks.
Famous
left.
Jameis.
Like Jameis. What about Drew Brees?
I don't know, because him and Kirk Cousins are playing each other this weekend.
Give me both of them.
All right.
All right, so I got Aaron Rodgers. All right, I'm going to get rid of Alex Smith, and I'm going to get Cam Newton. They're playing Baltimore. Baltimore's got a good defense, don't they? Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford.
Who do they play?
Seattle.
All right.
So Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Andy Dalton, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins. Who knows? Let's see what happens. So, oh shit! I got an ad playing. Fuck. It's not even an ad for Red Dead Redemption. It's for like, what is it for? Oh, it's for.
So anyway.
Okay. Anyways.
Anyway, well, let's roll into the DFS.
Are we ready to move on to NFL chit chat?
Oh, yeah, let's do that first. Here we go.
Connor?
Yeah.
Connor.
Yes.
Are we ready to move on to NFL chit chat?
Yes. What about it?
What the fuck? God damn it.
What?
Hey, give money. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, plug here for the Patreon so we don't have my feed keeps cutting out or something, so bear with us. So give money to the Patreon so we can get a better I can get a better Wi-Fi connection.
Incredible.
All right, so just a little chit chat about things going around the league. So I just want to say Pat Shurmur is my new favorite head coach.
Why?
Because, well, actually, it should be Doug Peterson because Pat Shurmur basically copied what he did. But so the Monday night game, did you watch any of that game?
Yep.
So at the end when the score was 20-6, the New York Giants score a touchdown. So now it's 20-12 so conventional wisdom say you kick the extra point. Pat Shurmur goes for 2 in that situation. I don't know if you saw any of the hubbub about this in the last few days.
Yeah.
And how by going for 2 makes so much more sense than just kicking an extra point in that scenario. The way the math works out, where basically the logic of it was, if you go for 2, and you convert it, then you're within 6, score another touchdown, kick an extra point to win. Well, of course, what if you don't get that first extra point? Well, then you still have an opportunity because you still need to score another touchdown to get that 2 points back to tie the game. So it's more likely that you convert 1 2-point conversion than it is you're unsuccessful at 2. So as long as you get one of them, you either A, will win the game or be no better off or no worse off than you were if you were just kicking extra point in the first place.
I see.
And there's some more some deeper math analysis to it that I didn't totally look into. But basically, looked at like the win probability goes up by like 20 some odd %. If you're down 6 in that scenario, come out of that down 6, then if you're down 7, factoring because obviously if you're down 7, you score another touchdown to tie it with an extra point, then you have to go to overtime, and then it's more or less a coin flip, literally and figuratively. Yeah, so I mean the strategy call, I love it. I mean the game theory that goes on with deciding when to go for it on 4th downs and when to go for 2 or when not to. That's something about football that really I am genuinely very interested in and I find really fascinating. Yeah, that's really it. And then basically the Doug Peterson did this like 2 or 3 weeks ago in the basically the same situation. I don't think it worked out for either team. I mean, in this Monday night game for the Giants and Falcons, it ended up not mattering because the Giants didn't get the 2-point conversion, so they're down 20-12. It didn't really matter because the Falcons did go down and kick a field goal. So then they're up 11. So the Giants did score a touchdown with like 5 seconds left or something, and they did get the 2-point conversion then. So if they would have been able to hold the Falcons defense, it would have been in a tie. It'd been no worse off. So I love the strategy. I think more teams should go for 2 more often.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all there. I mean, you're right. I think I just don't want to buy into anything that the Giants are doing this year, though.
Oh no, I don't trust the Giants as a team at all. But strategically, what they're doing,
mathematically,
yeah, what they're doing is the logic behind it is sound.
Yeah. I'm also just pissed off at Pat Shurmur.
Why is that?
Well, because the end of that last garbage time touchdown, man, cost me.
Oh, because if you would have got, yeah, that's right. Well, do you want to? Well, speaking of which, that's a nice segue. We can get back to this other thing I had jotted down, but let's get into a DFS recap for Week 7 for last week.
All right, DFS recap. So I lost big on just about everything that I did last week.
Yeah, that was rough for both of us.
Yeah, I didn't win anything. I lost to Sam. I lost this. I played this other head-to-head. I've been doing random head-to-heads as well against just people. And it was super annoying because this guy had like my exact lineup. He had like 5 guys that were the same. And so we went up against each other, and my guys, didn't play very well except for Adam Thielen. So, it's like, yeah, it was kind of frustrating. And it kind of taught me, though, I guess I can sort of explain here. So I picked, like, Jermaine Kearse, Willie Snead. Who else laid an egg here? Joe Mixon did.
He wasn't awful.
Joe Mixon got 8 points, man.
Oh, never mind. I thought he was at least in double digits.
No, he was god awful. The entire Bengals team was just extremely disappointing to watch. It was. If Jermaine Kearse doesn't get a total of 0 points, Willie Snead gets more than 6 points, and Joe Mixon at a salary of $7,600 gets me at least double-digit points, I think I would have been in much better shape. But for what it's worth, I guess it taught me that I sort of looking at my lineup, I had a lot of wild cards in there. And I spent big on people that didn't necessarily make sense to spend very big on. Like, I spent big. My big three were Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, and Adam Thielen. So logic tells me that I should have spent, big money on somebody. Well, what I thought was that Joe Mixon would have at least a decent game against Kansas City, even though they were at Kansas City. Their run defense is like the second worst, I think. And Joe Mixon has the backfield to himself, and he also catches passes. So, like, I was like, this guy is in an ideal situation. But, deeper analysis, when you try to, like, read into, like, game script and stuff, I should have seen it coming from a mile away that Kansas City was going to be way too high-powered for Cincinnati. And it was just like, maybe not to the extent that it really was, like 45-10, like it was kind of out of control very quickly. But I should have seen that the game script should have been more pass heavy than running the ball at any point in it. So I should have picked somebody else anyway. Like there's definitely other people at $7,600 range there that probably would have been a lot more appropriate to play. And it's a large reason of why we'll get into this later, of why I didn't pick Philip Lindsay for this week in Daily Fantasy. Could be wrong, could, burn me, but I
hope
think
you're wrong because I did pick him.
Yeah, right. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is that when we're playing cash games here, what I was talking about earlier, where you're trying to pick people with high floors, it's a really conservative effort to pick a team for daily fantasy, and I think really what I learned from last week is that I was getting a little arrogant. I think like I was winning a lot of money and like I was on a roll, and I really went off on a limb and like didn't pick my guys very intelligently, and I think that dialing it back is really the right call. So that's pretty much what happened for me.
Yeah, well, I think I was kind of in a similar boat. You're a lot more active currently on DraftKings than I am in other plays, but yeah, this lineup I had against you was definitely had more of a tournament flair to it. Because similar to you, man, I struck out on a lot of dudes. I think I had 4 guys that scored less than 4 points each.
Ooh.
I had Sony Michel, who he got hurt in the first half of that Bears game, so whatever. Antonio Callaway, who I saw him on Hard Knocks and he was really fast. So that was definitely just a bad pick on my part. Shoot, I don't even know this guy's first name. The K Kute, that receiver from Houston, who had like 10 catches for 2 touchdowns in his first career game. Definitely had a reactionary play to that by playing him this week. He only had, what do you have? 1 reception for 3 yards.
Whoops.
So, that's one thing I keep learning about is when one guy has a great game one week, this kind of out of nowhere, don't play him the next week because he's not going to do it again.
Did you pick Vernon Davis?
Oh, I had Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis. I was looking for some value, so get a real cheap tight end.
Does he play?
I think I saw. Yeah, I mean, I watched some of that game. and I saw 85 Vernon Davis on the field. Just didn't ever throw on the ball. So that was me trying to get cute at tight end and, I don't know, just save some money and get some other high-priced guys. Because I did go for 2 high-priced people. Todd Gurley went for over 30. Typical. And I guess, to be fair, I did beat you this week, but we could probably put an asterisk next to that because I only beat you because I had one player left, and I was playing Saquon, and you had also Saquon, and I think you had someone else playing. You were ahead.
It was Joe Mixon.
Oh, right before the Sunday night game. That's what it was. So we both had Saquon, and you had 2 dudes yet to play, and you told me who you were playing. And I was like, oh, fuck, we both have Saquon. So I pivoted out of that and put Kareem Hunt in, and that was good because he went for almost 40. So and that's the whole thing with DFS is your lineup doesn't you can't see your opponent's players who they have slotted until the game starts, until they're locked in. But I don't know, because we're buddies or whatever, we can chit chat about it, and it's no fun when we're playing the same dudes. We already had the same quarterback. We already had both. Joe Flacco already play, so
yeah.
Well, we were chit chatting about our preliminary lineup for week 8 coming up, and we had like 3 of the same dudes. I think it's probably because we're doing this podcast now. We're thinking like the same.
Yeah, just on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess that's what we were talking about before with these strategies with DFS, contrarian plays, or we didn't really talk about contrarian plays, but that's kind of what happened there. Because if Sam would have played Saquon Barkley, yeah, I think I was only ahead by like a point or 2, but obviously if he played Saquon Barkley and I had another guy left to play, all my other guy has to do is not get 0 points. Right. And even if I guess if he does get 0 points, since I was still ahead, like Sam would have just lost. So really, like, yeah, that's the whole thing with daily fantasy is you can play, and Saquon Barkley was valued higher than Kareem Hunt last week. So Sam took a huge hit in salary to pivot to a different guy. But in doing so, he won. So it's, doing that kind of stuff is like more complex with daily fantasy, but it's kind of how you like win games and stuff. So anyway, yeah, what an ass week.
Yep. Ass.
Not great.
I guess we'll get into regular fantasy later. We can talk about that.
Yeah, let's go over daily fantasy first.
Alrighty.
All right, so week 8 here. Week 8. Let's go over some faves that we have. So starting at quarterback position here, top dollar. I have Pat Mahomes at $7,000 against Denver.
I have him as a quarterback I don't like.
I guess the logic and reason I don't think apply to Patrick Mahomes or the Kansas City Chiefs. Like they are so good right now, man. It is unbelievable to watch them play. Honestly, it's like I'm not even mad. They are so good, and Patrick Mahomes is just unreal. Like he's so good, and they have so many players on their team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the only reason I put him in my don't like list is the way we have this kind of tiered off. We have a top dollar, your top guys, your middlemen, and then our bottom feeders. Just Pat Mahomes is the most expensive quarterback on the board. Just purely from a roster construction and salary management perspective, I think you can get better value further down the list. And they're playing Denver. Their defense isn't as dominant as it was a few years back, but they're still not bad. So that's the only reason I have them as a don't like. It's just because, all the other top valued quarterbacks this week are, I don't know, have more favorable matchups pretty much. So it definitely wouldn't be mad if I wouldn't be totally tell you not to if you want to play Pat Mahomes.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I guess he's expensive. But he's probably gonna get you points. I don't know. But anyway, well, moving on from him though. Aaron Rodgers I have at $6,400. So this one is a little tricky, and I think this is mostly game script driven, and from what I've been able to gather from watching the Packers so far this season,
they'll be down 20 at halftime.
Yep, that's pretty much it. I think that the LA Rams are, without question, probably, if not the most high-powered offense, the second most high-powered offense next to Kansas City. And I just don't think our defense is – they're getting there, man. But I think that it's still a little too green to withstand the high-powered offense that is LA. So, I think that the Packers are going to go down pretty quick. And that's going to leave Aaron Rodgers to do Aaron Rodgers things and, huck the ball up for a lot of yards. And I also think that LA's secondary isn't quite what it was made out to be, and that's largely due to injuries, I think, too. Aqib Talib put on IR doesn't do him any favors. Marcus Peters isn't quite performing as high as he was when he was with Kansas City. They still have people like LaMarcus Joyner playing safety back there, and he's still performing well. And they still obviously have a pass rush that is just to poop your pants at. But I think that with the Packers returning their starting wide receivers, Geronimo Allison, Randall Cobb, I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have definitely, plenty to work with. And he seems to perform better when he's down by 1,000 points anyway. So I'm liking Aaron Rodgers in this one because I think this one's going to quickly evolve into a shootout between him and Jared Goff. So that's why I have Aaron. I have Andrew Luck at 63. Do you have anything to add to that? I sort of just.
The only other thing, that game script, I agree with you 100%, and that's why I'm at my first initial draft, and we'll get to. And you have Jared Goff listed as your middleman. It's only $6,000. I'd play Jared Goff just to get stretch your dollar a little further there. I really like the Rams' offense this week.
I do too. It's disappointing to say, but it's kind of just the reality. So anyway, before we get to Jared Goff a little bit more, I mean, we don't have to talk about him a whole lot because we just did, but I like Andrew Luck at 6,300. They're playing Oakland this week. I think it's at Oakland. But I hate everything about Oakland right now, just because they're clearly going through a blow-up phase. With the Amari Cooper trade, it became pretty apparent that John Gruden is stashing these picks away for a rainy day, or really just next year. So as a result, I mean, I think that the Colts are starting to heat up a little bit. They had quite the game last week. Marlon Mack just ran train. He had like 30-some fantasy points, and Andrew Luck seems to be throwing the ball pretty well so far. I don't know. I'm really not confident in Oakland's defensive backs. Rashawn Melvin. I think I touched on them way earlier in the season here, but I want nothing to do with their secondary. I think they're going to get torn up by T.Y. Hilton pretty good. So I like Andrew Luck, and it's pretty game script driven as well. I think that Oakland just doesn't have the offensive power to do anything. Like, the Colts defense isn't anything to write home about, I don't think, but I mean, I think they have enough going on in the secondary to keep, Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant and Jared Cook at bay. So I think that a combination of not being able to score points and their defense just being entirely underwhelming, Andrew Luck's going to have a field day. And then I have Andy Dalton at $6,200. I put him on here mostly because I don't know. I really don't like the Bengals either, especially after last week. Like, watching them do absolutely nothing against a secondary and a defense as a whole that has just been pretty awful this season in Kansas City. They're playing the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers are in a very similar situation. If anything, they might be worse than Kansas City. And I put them on because I think that they're good enough to right their wrongs from last week, and they're also playing at home, and I guess that helps. There's too many people there, I think, though, to exploit the weak Buccaneers defense. There's Tyler Boyd, who's been real hot this season. There's obviously A.J. Green, who, despite last week being just like the worst week ever for the Bengals, still came out of that with like a pretty solid outing. I think he still ran or had over 100 yards receiving, and I mean had a quality outing. Joe Mixon also, he laid an egg last week, as we discussed, but I think that he's bound to get considerable playing time. But we'll see. The Cincinnati Bengals also have a little bit of a weaker defense happening this year as well, and the Buccaneers can run a high-powered offense. It's possible, but I don't know. I think that there's some potential for a high-scoring game there, so I have Andy. Jared Goff, we're reaching into our middle-tier guys at 6,000. We already discussed the high probability of there being a shootout between LA and the Packers. I think Jared Goff just has too many weapons to rotate through to exploit a very young and up-and-coming secondary. Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods both sort of, I mean, they can do kind of everything, and I think that's the scariest part. And I think Cooper Kupp's going to be out, so that's a solid check in the yes box for the Packers. But the problem, I think, is that they all sort of do everything. Like, each of those receivers can like kind of do a little bit of everything. Like, they're a deep threat, or they can perform in the slots, or they can work on the opposite side of the field. And I think that's really the part that is difficult to overcome. So I think Jared Goff is going to find a lot of opportunities to exploit the fact that they're going up against a fairly inexperienced defense. Moving on from him, though, I got Kirk Cousins at $5,900. They're playing the Saints at home, so I put him in there. He hasn't necessarily been playing or garnering really like a ton of like high scoring fantasy days, but I think you just gotta play him at home with Adam Thielen just absolutely taking off. You know, it's unreal the season that Adam Thielen's having and how much of a non-factor, almost, or not really a non-factor, but how much he's eclipsed is a better way to put it. Stephon Diggs, just in every way, shape, and form, he's totally overperforming what he was, I think, expected to do this season.
And that's not a knock on Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is still a really good receiver.
Yeah, no. Adam Thielen is just playing lights out. He's just
right.
He's so good. So I have Kirk Cousins there because Adam Thielen typically works out of the slot, and they're playing. The Saints picked up Eli Apple this week. I don't really know what he's going to do. He's considerably better than Ken Crawley, but Adam Thielen works out. He works out of the slot, and they're still keeping P.J. Williams there, who's just been pretty bad this year. And so operating against him, I don't think anything really changes with this trade that happened. If anything, I think it might stifle Stephon Diggs a little bit, or, I mean, Laquan Treadwell, whoever lines up on that side, I guess. So I think that nonetheless, Adam Thielen's going to have a big day, and as a result, Kirk Cousins has an opportunity to also have a big day. On the other side of the coin, though, I do have Drew Brees at $5,600 just because I think $5,600 is pretty cheap for a guy that is, I don't know, playing a secondary that I think is pretty overrated this year. Vikings secondary was just the talk of the town coming into this season. Their defense as a whole really was like, the purple people eaters again, and this whole rah-rah thing. And every team kind of does it in the offseason, but they were really just talking about how good their defense was going to be. And I don't think their defense is really that good. I think that they are certainly able to be exploited by people like Drew Brees, who've just been in the NFL for as long as he has. The Saints are also just this crazy offense. I really enjoy seeing the offense run by Sean Payton, actually, with all the different things that are going on. Like Michael Thomas is, if Adam Thielen wasn't having the season he was having, I think he would be the guy, honestly. Like, I think he would be the guy that's at the top of the charts. So having somebody like that paired with the running back tandem of Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, it's just dangerous. Like they're both real good, and Drew Brees he's seen it all. He's been in every situation. He's a pretty dynamic guy. So I like Drew Brees because of all those sort of like non-tangible reasons. I just think that this game has a lot of potential for these guys to toss the rock a lot, especially because I think that they're fairly even matched. I don't think it'll necessarily be. I don't want to depict it as like a shootout in the same way that the Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff one will be. But I think that they will be, doing quite a bit to see who comes out on top. I think it'll be a really close game, is what I'm trying to say. And at the I have a bottom feeder guy just because I made the column, and so I felt obligated to put somebody in there. I have Case Keenum in there at $5,100. I don't really feel good about putting him in there, but he's there. He's playing Kansas City, and I don't know. Case has been all right. I just, if you're looking for a bargain bin man for quarterback, I guess, throw Case in the mix there. So that's kind of what I've got. Do you have anything to add to that, Sam?
Hello? You there?
Hi.
Jesus
Hello.
Christ. This is really bad.
Are you cutting out a lot?
Yeah.
Am I
all
cutting
right.
out a lot?
Yeah, I'm not hearing it. Well, anyways, I'm assuming you said I'm going to talk about my quarterbacks that I don't like this week, right?
That's correct.
Boy, we're on the same brainwave. I already talked about Pat Mahomes, and just because he's the most expensive quarterback and playing a at least decent defense. I don't have a whole lot else. There's not a whole lot of quarterbacks that I hate this week. Jameis Winston is one of those, though. I just think that Tampa Bay team's not good enough. And Jameis Winston really hasn't looked good. Well, I don't know. I guess I haven't watched any of the Buccaneers since Jameis Winston came back from injury. That offense is nearly as dynamic as they were when Fitzmagic was going on, which, man, that feels like years ago that Ryan Fitzpatrick was tearing it up, even though it was just a month or two ago.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. They're playing at least a decent Cincinnati team. Yeah, they got torn up last week by Kansas City, but that's Kansas City. I don't think that's necessarily indicative or a strong indictment of their defense against a lesser team in Tampa Bay. And there'll be similar themes to that we'll see later when we talk about receivers. And the bottom feeder, Eli Manning, I just don't like that Giants team. They're playing Washington. They're coming. They're played Dallas tough. I don't know. It was a relatively low-scoring game. I wouldn't imagine that the Giants would fare much better against a stout Washington front seven. As they use a lot of draft picks last couple of years, bolstering up that defensive line. Stop guys like Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley. So this should be a game I think Washington is in control of. And just watching Eli Manning back there just get, having 2 seconds at most to throw the ball is it's not really worth. If you're gonna save money at quarterback, don't. He's still $4,900. It's not like he's significantly cheaper than say Drew Brees or Kirk Cousins or some of the guys you mentioned in that middle tier even. The range of salaries for these quarterbacks is not very wide. So you're better off ponying up the middle, the extra couple $100 to play one of those middle tier guys. And last, my bottom feeder, don't play that guy I'm not liking this week is Chad Kelly, because he got released by the Broncos because he was drunk or something, and walked into a
Trespassed
woman's
in a
house, walked into this people's house, and just kind of sat there. So
Man.
he's still at $4,500 if you really do want to draft him, even though he's not on a team. So right now I have him penned down as Chad Kelly, $4,500. Opponent is versus life right now. So he's still looking for a job. So yeah, I wouldn't play him.
Irrelevant.
To the Shadow Realm with you.
Dope.
You want to talk running backs? Oh man, you also have we have a guy on both lists.
Well. Well, you want to explain why you don't like Todd Gurley?
Basically the same reason I don't like Pat Mahomes. Now this one even more so because, man, $9,800 when you only got $55,000 to start with, that's a ton of money to spend on one player. I don't think that it's tough to justify that kind of expenditure on one dude. Yeah, I mean, it's Todd Gurley. Yeah, the game script will probably dictate the way the Packers play. They'll be down early, so they'll probably be running a ball in the second half a lot. And sure, he's going to score 2 or 3 touchdowns. Sure, he's going to have like 200 all-purpose yards. But that's only one dude. So I just that high price of $9,800 just scares me.
Yeah,
and there's no guarantee. I mean, this maybe this is the fluke week where I don't know, he doesn't do everything for the Rams. It doesn't make that Rams offense go. It's just risking a lot of money on one dude.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pretty penny to pay for one guy, and I mean, pretty much what that means is when you spend up that high for the guy who's priced the highest, I mean, you pretty much have to structure your entire team around him. I guess the reason I have him is just for all the reasons that you pretty much listed. Like, it's all there. The game script, the probability, the fact that he hasn't scored less than like 25 points in any of his fantasy outings. He hasn't scored less than 30 in his last 3. I think that one way or another, even if he does have a week that isn't quite as good, I think that he's still, barring, he could get injured too. I mean, that's something that would just be unfortunate, but it's there for anybody. I think that he's just been such a monster this week or this whole season. Like, he's just taking the running back position back to the 90s and kind of just running some old school smash mouth football, and getting just this incredible amount of touches every game. Like, he's averaging like 25, which is just fucking nuts. So yeah, I don't know. I got him in my I didn't play him this week, but I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you decided to structure your team around him. Again, like Sam said, you're taking out a mortgage in order to roster Todd Gurley on your team, but and he's only gonna be more expensive from here on out, barring injury or whatever. But yeah, I've still got him. I don't think it's quite out of the ballpark quite yet. He hasn't eclipsed 10,000, so we're not quite in the realm of insanity, but yeah, he's up there. Moving down though to some more reasonably priced guys. I've got James Conner at $7,500. The Steelers are playing the Browns this week, and we haven't really talked about this game at all. The Steelers are looking pretty yucky this year. I don't really like them, but I think that the Browns are. I think they're a little overhyped right now. I think that right now with Baker Mania and Bake Off here, all the things that are happening in Cleveland, I think they're gonna get shut down this week and playing the Steelers. And for that reason, I think that things like their defense have been a little overhyped. I think they're going to get burned pretty bad by Juju Smith-Schuster and Antonio Brown, which is going to lead to people like James Conner getting plenty of carries in that game. I mean, he's a workhorse running back, so he's kind of always going to have the volume there, and that's been a huge plus for James Conner owners not I guess as regular fantasy, but just for the benefit of rostering James Conner has been that he just has all the volume there. So he's going to get you some points one way or another. It might not look great, but they're going to be there. In this game specifically, though, I think James Conner is going to have a pretty decent week against Cleveland. I think that the pieces are all there for, and this is kind of intangible too, and this is just like based off of like gut feeling and hunches, but I think the pieces are there for the Steelers to just kind of tear them apart. Moving on from him, I've got James White at $7,200. And really the reason I tried really hard to actually get James White this week, but it didn't quite happen. It wasn't quite in the cards for me. He found himself a pretty solid situation due to injury to Sony Michel. So James White, he had a great week last week. He garnered like 30 fantasy points just because there's nobody else in that backfield. The only other guy operating with him is Kenjon Barner. So I don't think that the Patriots are going to utilize Kenjon Barner fairly much. I mean, I could be wrong. They're playing
saying
Buffalo.
His name like that on purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that they're gonna use him though. I could be wrong. I just said that, but I think it could. I don't know. He could have a game.
Yeah, James White. Yeah, I like him this week a lot. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I think that it's more of the opportunities there just because Buffalo's run defense or their ability to defend against the run is just it's not there. It's a non-existent. But I don't think that James White is going to go away. I think that he doesn't really operate as the guy who gets a ton of runs up the middle or any of those like traditional running back plays or schemes. I think he's still going to do his James White thing, but with Sony Michel not there to take some of that volume away, I think he's just going to have a great game. And then I have Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt more or less because I think I've been undervaluing him this season so far. I certainly didn't think he was going to have the game that he had last week. And so I think it's time to set the record straight on this guy. I think that he's going to have a pretty solid game against Denver. I don't really know why this is. I don't really watch a lot of Denver football, but their run defense hasn't been very decent this year, and that seems surprising just because they have Bradley Chubb and Von Miller there. Then you'd think that having those two guys alone would be enough to make some sort of an impact, and maybe it does. Like, I don't know, maybe they do make an impact, but the rest of their defense is still just bad. But people have been able to have some pretty solid outings against Denver this year. I think that the Chiefs will probably. I don't think Case Keenum is gonna light up the boards this week. And I think that Kareem Hunt is going to get a pretty similar to what happened last week. He's just going to get a ton of carries because Kansas City's going to go up real quick, and they're going to call on Kareem Hunt to do his thing. Yeah. So anyway, I've got David Johnson at $6,700. I don't really feel good about him, but I think that there's something to be said about Mike McCoy getting fired, and Byron Leftwich, who was a part of the Bruce Arians regime. I think that the opportunities there for David Johnson to go back to being David Johnson and doing David Johnson things, but I don't know. He's playing San Francisco, and that's the big thing for me is that David Johnson is going up against San Francisco, who also has an awful run defense. So he's more than capable of having a game and a half, and at $6,700, it's like, you can definitely roster him, but I think the problem I have here is that at $6,700, he's just like a little too close to these other guys that you are a little, like not a little, but a lot more certain of to have quality games. So he's only $400 less than like Kareem Hunt, $500 less than James White, like all these guys that are a little bit safer to play. So it's the only knock I have on David Johnson. And I have Philip Lindsay at $5,200 moving down the list here. He's in a similar James White situation, I think. He's typically the smaller pass-catching running back, but since Royce Freeman has been ruled out for the game this weekend, he's I think in a situation to make a splash. The only knock I have on him, and really I came pretty close to playing him, and I told Sam this, but I think I was going to actually play him. The plan was to play him, and I ended up playing Lamar Miller on accident, sort of. Like I was playing with my roster, and I put Lamar Miller in there to see what configurations could work, and then I just forgot about it, and then I got home from the gym at 7:30, and I was like, oh, ass. Like, forgot to switch my lineup. Guess I'm playing Lamar Miller. The only knock I have on Phillip is that he's in a really similar situation that Joe Mixon was in last week, and I just really didn't like the absolute non-production from somebody like Joe Mixon, who is arguably a more complete back than Philip Lindsay, as a result, I just don't. Something in my gut tells me that matchup doesn't seem great, even though all the ingredients are there for him to receive high volume and to have a lot of upside to rostering him. But I don't know. $5,200 is pretty cheap also, so I don't know. You could still probably be worth it. Bottom feeder guys here, though, I've got Carlos Hyde at $4,100. And I don't really have anything to say about him because I honestly I just kind of put him there. I have no idea how he's going to work in this Jacksonville system. But he's probably going to do something because they signed him and they don't think TJ Yeldon is good enough to be the guy there for while Leonard Fournette's out. So I don't know. He's probably going to do something this week, and $4,100 is, just pennies on the dollar. And then I have this guy, Raheem. I don't even know if I'm saying this right. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. Mostert. He's at $3,800. He was a preseason stud for the Niners this past preseason, and he was able to make something out of nothing last week and get solid 11 fantasy points with Matt Breida being out. But he's kind of a punt. He has some opportunity there with Matt Breida probably not playing and the Niners just not being able to utilize Alfred Morris. I think that at $3,800, you just he's one of those guys that you can just hopefully he gets double-digit points, and I think you get your return value on using him. He's definitely not a guy that you just, I don't know. A lot of people are saying he's a must-grab because of his value, but I don't know. You kind of got to look at these guys that people are like, oh, buy now. And just evaluate your situation. Are you really sure you want to grab this guy who he could very well be a punt? You could buy him for $3,800 and then he gets you 4 points. That's kind of how that works. So that's the guys I like.
Yeah, man, that Raheem Mostert. Yeah, when you told me about that guy, you mentioned him to me earlier a couple days ago. I was like, oh, this guy you found off the bottom of the scrap heap. But yeah, I don't know. I'm playing Philip Lindsay, so
hell yeah.
Yeah, I like James White a lot. So, yeah. So we were talking about Todd Gurley just being expensive. Christian McCaffrey, they're playing Baltimore. Baltimore is, I think, the best run defense, or one of the best run defenses in the NFL. So, yeah, Christian McCaffrey at $7,000. I think you can definitely be a little more judicious with your money. But you have somewhere at the similar price tier. You have Kareem Hunt, only $100 more, and David Johnson is $300 less than Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, it really just has to do with the matchup, playing a stout Baltimore defense. Other than the matchup, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I think, is just a really solid play in general, since he is very, very much involved in the pass game, and I've been consistently surprised this year how productive he's been just running the ball, taking handoffs from Cam Newton. That really wasn't his game last year, since they were featuring a lot more of Jonathan Stewart still. Is Jonathan Stewart even with? Is he on the team still?
He's not on the team.
He's gone.
Is he with? Who is he with?
I don't know.
I wanted to say Buffalo actually, but I think that's wrong. I don't know who he's with. Let me Google it real quick. New York. He's a he's a football running back for the New York Giants.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Christian McCaffrey, otherwise very productive. $7,000 against the Baltimore defense. I would go elsewhere with my money, which I will be doing. And then my two bottom feeders. If you're looking for value at running back, don't go with these guys. Chris Carson. I don't know. Has he done anything this year playing Detroit? I know Detroit doesn't have a great run defense, but
he was actually a guy that I was looking at, sort of, because $4,300. That Seattle running back committee is just it's like a monster. It's just such a mess. But
they got a bunch of guys that are none of them are great, and
yeah. Well,
don't love
okay.
it.
I will no. I don't love it either. But at $4,300, at first I was like, you know what, maybe. But then
this is the week that they'll do something.
Detroit picked up. Did you see they picked up whatchamacallit? What's his name? His nickname is Snacks. Damon Williams, something like that.
Okay.
He's a D tackle he's from the Giants. Damian Williams, is that his name? Anyway, he's like one of the best D tackles that has been playing against the run. So it's, I don't know how big of a splash he's gonna have in this first game with Detroit. But Damon Harrison, that's his name. Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do in this first game because he just got traded this week. But, I mean, adding anybody, I think, is going to make that Detroit Lions D-line just, at least a little better. Like, they have been bad, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't like Chris Carson either, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. And I also got Aaron Jones. Don't like him. Everybody keeps saying, the Packers got to use Aaron Jones more. He's the most dynamic running back they have in that kind of awkward tandem, that awkward trio with him, Ty Montgomery, and Jamal Williams. And, yeah, it makes sense to use Aaron Jones a lot, but Mike McCarthy hasn't done it yet. And until he proves to me that he's going to give Aaron Jones enough touches to justify a roster spot on my DFS team, I'm not getting suckered into that. That's one where I will be reactionary. And just not in terms of production, but in terms of touches. Any of those three guys for a DFS lineup, just do not
pass.
Between production and then just number of touches, since they're usually down.
They're also playing LA, so I don't know. I wouldn't play any of them anyway.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, even if they are, even if the game script was flipped, anticipated game skip, if they're up, I'm not crazy about any of them then.
Right.
I don't
Even
trust
if
the
Mike
running
McCarthy literally came out and said, "I'm gonna give Aaron Jones most of the touches," like I still don't think I would play him. Like,
no, I don't know if the production matches up with that. Then until I see it, I'm not buying it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's why he's priced where he is.
Right. It is, but yeah. Anyway, I guess that's it for running backs. Well, let's try to breeze a little faster. I feel like I was pretty long-winded with some of that running back jazz, so let's try to breeze through these guys a little bit faster. Wide receivers. I like Adam Thielen, A.J. Green, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry in the top tier here.
Yeah, we talked about Adam Thielen a little bit already in that Minnesota, how he's playing lights out right now.
Yeah, so we've talked to, and a lot of these guys we've sort of already, talked about what exactly is happening in the game and why they deserve roster spot just because they've been playing well and game script stuff. People like A.J. Green, Devontae Adams, they're both playing in games against or they're not the same at all, actually. A.J. Green is playing against the Bucs, who it's there. We've already talked about their bad pass defense. Devontae Adams, we already talked about the game script sort of there that Aaron Rodgers, I think, is going to throw a lot. And Devontae has been just dominating the market share of targets in that receiving core. There's no argument there. Like, he's clearly the guy in that receiving core. He's taken a step ahead for sure this year in proving that he is the true number one guy in that offense. I've got Mike Evans here at $7,800 because they're playing Cincinnati. I don't know. I put him down, but I kind of want to take him off, to be honest, because he's great. I think Mike Evans is a great receiver, but I agree with you that Jameis Winston is just like the most he's such a weird quarterback to watch.
Definitely below the Joe Flacco line.
Yeah, which is just weird because I don't know, he doesn't look like a guy that should be there though. He looks like he should be he's okay, but I don't know, man.
I think he still's got some number one overall pick shine to him.
I mean, I think that's kind of it.
Where if you look at him as a quarterback in a vacuum, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the implication of if you take him off that squad, it's kind of like the Bucs are committing to the fact that they have to rebuild, picked wrong. So I don't know, but anyway, I got Jarvis Landry though. Talked about how the Browns are kind of gonna get their asses kicked this week, but I think nonetheless, Jarvis Landry has just been like a fantasy godsend to a lot of people for a number of years now, just because of his capabilities he's been having a case of the drops this season for some reason. I don't really know why that is, but he's always been there though. He always gets a huge number of targets, and I don't really see anybody except maybe David Njoku encroaching on his market share. There's really nobody else there, I don't think. So
not Antonio Callaway, that's for sure.
Not him. And the other guy, this guy is another guy that I almost played last week. His name's Damian Ratley.
Ooh. Where do you find these guys?
The deep, dark internet recommendations of strangers. And this guy apparently is an up-and-coming rookie wide receiver as well. Anyway, I don't think anybody's really challenging Jarvis for any of his targets. So $7,200, he's a solid play still against a weak Pittsburgh pass defense. I've got Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks. They're both priced almost exactly the same at $6,900 for Brandon Cooks and $6,800 for Robert Woods. I'm playing Robert Woods in daily fantasy.
That's who I have too.
Yeah.
So we'll have to. I mean, I should probably just. We'll flip a coin or something. We'll figure out who gets to keep one and who gets the other one between these two guys.
We could. I think I have $100 in leftover money, so I could just switch. But anyway, yeah, we it's both these guys. I like Robert Woods a little bit better because I think he's traditionally been more of the. We talked about it earlier, where these guys, they all have the capability to do everything in the receiving core, but I think Robert Woods has predominantly been more of the deep threat guy,
which is kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that Brandon Cooks, with all you hear about when people mention him, is all world speed, just him flying past people. But Robert Woods is. I agree. Seems to have more of the deep balls, and otherwise, I think a more probably the most well-rounded of the three between Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Brandon Cooks. Probably the most versatile receiver. Yeah, I don't know. I really like his production. Kind of get it all with him.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see it happen in this LA offense. Like I feel like on the Bills, he's just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's really excelling in this offense, and that's pretty cool to see.
System receiver.
Maybe.
It's a pretty damn good system that Sean McVay's got, though.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, yeah, I have him. I think he's more likely to get paired up with a rookie cornerback, Kevin King, than Brandon Cooks. I think Brandon Cooks will probably be paired up against Tramon Williams.
Ooh, I don't know. Jair Alexander should be playing this week. They better not, as a Packers fan, they better not put Tramon Williams on Brandon Cooks because fire up the toaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, he's not going to keep up with him, but I thought Jair was more the slot guy.
Well, yeah, but I think he's also fast.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see. Like I said before, these guys sort of, yeah, right, put both of them on there, but these guys rotate in the different wide receiver positions so frequently that it doesn't really matter who their supposed pair is because the Packers don't shadow anybody, I don't think. So it doesn't really matter. Like they're gonna probably get paired up against everybody in that secondary,
right?
So anyway, I like both of them though because they both are bound to have a pretty significant uptick in target production or target market share is what I'm trying to say. Because Cooper Kupp has been ruled, or he's doubtful, I think right now, but he's not supposed to play this weekend. And so both of them, I think, are going to have a pretty solid number of targets, I'd imagine, with everything we've talked about with how the game's supposed to go. So, yeah, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks there. Probably Robert Woods has a slight edge over Brandon Cooks. Following up those guys, though, I've got Tyler Boyd at $6,700 right below them. He's playing the Bucs, and I mean we've beat a dead horse at this point with this game, but I mean I think the Bengals are going to have a bounce back game at home, and Tyler Boyd he's been off the wall this season except for last week. Last week I think everybody on that offense except AJ Green laid an egg, so I think he's going to bounce back though, and at $6,700 he's still pretty inexpensive for a guy that's probably going to get like arguably 20 points in a game, so pretty solid value. Bottom feeder guys, I've got Sammy Watkins, but mostly because I picked him up in regular fantasy, and some guy dropped him, so I was like, yeah, I'll take him.
Dude, this is another guy. This is another guy that who were we just talking about that has that first round? Jameis Winston. Sammy Watkins is another guy that has that first round shine on him, and yeah, he's not productive, but he just looks like he should be good. And he's in the Chiefs' offense, and I don't know, be good.
Yeah. So the thing here is that like I don't know. Yeah, he's been trending in the positive direction for a little bit. He still doesn't get very many targets. Like he got like 4 or 5, I think, last week. He's like literally the description on like every single fantasy website is like Sammy Watkins is the fourth option at best for the Chiefs. And it's like,
well, it's true.
And yeah, right. I mean, it is. You have Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce in front of him, like without question. Like all those guys are just studs at their position. So yeah, Sammy Watkins sort of falls down the totem pole a little bit. But I mean, at $4,600, it's like, yeah, like you're really banking on a guy to just like make the most out of his targets, like what little he has.
And really out of that, yeah, if one of those targets, he gets one target in the red zone or something, scores a touchdown, that's basically all you're hope for at best here.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think that's a realistic expectation to, that there's potential for that.
Yes. And against Denver, this like weird. We talked about their defense just being kind of confusing. I think that there's opportunity there where it isn't like their defense isn't just like a closed book case where it's like, yep, bad. But I do think that there's maybe a little bit more opportunity here than in other cases where, like last week against the Bengals, it was kind of just like, yikes, like. It got out of control really fast, and it's like, well, we don't really need to worry about Sammy getting the ball. Like, we don't really need worry about getting creative with who's getting these targets because we're blowing these guys out of the water. I think there's a little bit more upside maybe to having Sammy on your roster. Mm-hmm. So that's wide receivers for you. Tried to be concise, but ended up just being long-winded again.
Yeah, we'll fly through the ones I don't like, which would be we've kind of beaten all these. We basically talked about all the games at this point for the most part. So top dollar wide receiver. So I had previous on my quarterback list of guys I didn't like. I had Eli Manning. So other side of the coin, the guy catching the balls from Eli Manning, Odell Beckham at $7,500. Yeah, man, that's confusing. Like he doesn't catch many balls. He's not a super productive receiver. That's probably because Eli Manning doesn't have time to get him the ball deep. So $7,500. Yeah. I think you can definitely spend your money better playing. Again, yeah, good Washington front seven. Kind of already talked about that. Middleman guy, Deshaun Jackson. We just talked about, if you're going to be between him and, who did we just talk about? Mike Evans, Jesus. Definitely would rather play Mike Evans. He's just a big target. He's quick. Deshaun Jackson, I don't know. He was productive early in the year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. They were kind of on the same brainwave. But
I really don't like that Deshaun Jackson. Like I hate that that's the case for him because in the beginning of the season he was pretty productive and doing Deshaun Jackson things, but it doesn't really seem like he has very much chemistry with Jameis Winston, and that's
the way it was last year all season. I drafted Deshaun Jackson for regular fantasy. I was real excited about that acquisition that the Buccaneers made, and man, that never panned out, and it's kind of the same thing here. So, yeah, $5,300 playing Cincinnati. If for some reason you want to play someone from the Buccaneers, might as well go for the big shooter, Mike Evans, for $1,700. And then bottom feeders, and this Antonio Callaway. This just because I played him last week, and he had one catch. I think he caught a long ball touchdown a little while back, and I think that was kind of stuck in my craw, so to speak. Yeah, he didn't do that last week, so
womp womp.
Yeah, it's only $3,800, and that's why. Don't play him.
Nope.
Tight ends.
I got Travis Kelce here at $6,800. He's the top tight end. You can. I don't know.
I'm with you on that. Don't really have to dwell too much on that, do we?
It's pretty much it. And I got Jimmy Graham and David Njoku in the middle tier here. Jimmy Graham, just because he's been trending upward. He didn't start out very hot with the Packers, but he's been getting there. I think it's finding his role in the system, what exactly his job is. He's been having some pretty all right games so far, and I think that there's certainly more than enough opportunity with what we've already talked about with the Packers going up against the Rams. And then I have David Jimmy Graham. He should continue to see an increase in especially red zone targets since he is such a mismatch. Like he was early in his career when he was in New Orleans. It was good for every week just throwing the fade.
back fade in the corner of the end zone to him. The Packers tried doing that. I think that was in Detroit a couple weeks ago. We saw that a little bit, and that didn't look good.
No.
So over the course of the season, maybe keep your eye on that. That might be something that develops, and once that does, I think that makes Jimmy Graham a much more attractive option.
Yeah, once the red zone threat was really the reason I think why we traded for him or picked him up.
Well, yeah, and also it's going to help now because since that fade that I was talking about looks so bad. Part of that too is Aaron Rodgers hasn't really been practicing much, if any, the last few weeks with that knee injury that he sustained against the Bears in Week 1. Now it looks like Aaron Rodgers was back. I saw he's full participant today. Checking the injury report.
Hell yeah.
So we'll see what that does. So yeah, towards the back half of the season here, Jimmy Graham trending up.
Jimmy Graham, hell yeah.
Jimmy Graham.
I got David Njoku though at $4,600.
Oh, one more thing about Jimmy Graham. I'm kidding.
Yeah, David Njoku. He's another guy that's been trending upward. I don't think he had a lot of chemistry with Jarvis Landry, with Tyrod Taylor. And I think he does have chemistry though with Baker Mayfield. The last couple games he's really excelled, and he's definitely been more than worth his price point in the middle tier here. I think against Pittsburgh, he, like I was saying before, I think is the only person on that Browns offense that rivals Jarvis Landry for market share and targets. And so I think that Pittsburgh has been, I think, if not the worst, like one of the worst at defending against tight ends so far this year. And I think that's just as a result of their safeties. I think Morgan Burnett has been hurt for a lot of the season. So they've had to just plug guys in there, and they just don't have guys to cover them, linebackers or otherwise. Like Ryan Shazier breaking his spine. Yeah, so anyway, think he's a solid play. Bottom tier guys, I've got O.J. Howard at $3,900 and C.J. Uzama at $3,500. And O.J. Howard he's a little bit more of a serious play at $3,900. He's a pretty cheap play. You're playing Cincinnati. I don't know. He's a guy. Again, I don't know. I'm pretty lukewarm about Jameis Winston. I've got C.J. Uzama because there's nobody else playing tight end in Cincinnati. So he's not like a stud, but he's kind of like, I compare him a lot to, have you watched Austin, or have you heard of Austin Hooper at all?
Yeah, from Atlanta.
Yeah. So I consider him a lot of like what he kind of was for a long time. Like, he was a guy that was around this price point, and like he could have a good game. Like, there's really nobody else in the tight end to take targets away from him, but like, I don't know, like he just might not get targets. Like Tyler Boyd and AJ Green are there, so I don't know. He scored a touchdown last week. So I don't know. He's just really cheap, and there's nobody there to play tight end besides him, so I don't know. If you're really stretched thin for money, you can play him, and they're playing a weak pass defense, so he's there. Moving on. People we don't like. Sam.
Yes. What's up? You talking to me? What? Okay. What'd you say?
People we don't like.
Yeah, tight end. Yep, I'm with you. I got George Kittle. And this is I don't know. I don't even not like him. This is just me being speculative, because if you look at his production, it's kind of it's usually pretty good, but I don't know. Maybe it's not very good this week. I don't know. You know what? I take that back. I'm actually playing George Kittle in my lineup.
You're playing him in your lineup, and you have him on the don't like list?
I don't know. Maybe he won't be good, because maybe.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I don't know. Never mind. Scratch that. Middleman, Greg Olsen. He's coming off an injury. I don't know what even injured, but he just returned, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. He's $4,200, but I think at this point, I don't think he doesn't look like he's quite 100%. The one highlight I saw, the one highlight where he caught a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I I would maybe pump the brakes. I have him for regular fantasy just because he was available, but for DFS, I'd pump the brakes. Again, they're playing Baltimore, who's a pretty stout defense. And the bottom feeder is Ricky Seals-Jones. I don't know. He's only $3,000. I don't know. Just don't play him. I don't know why you would. So I didn't have a whole lot for tight ends other than, don't play people who haven't ever done anything. You want to talk some defense? No.
Not really, because I don't know. Defense is like the biggest Yahtzee roll of this
entire
thing. Like, I never know what's gonna happen. Like, there are defenses that are like $2,000 that'll get like 14 points.
A big part of my win against you last week was having the Rams defense and get 23 points out of them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. I don't know. We've talked about these matchups for all these games this week, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the Bears because the Bears kind of got. Maybe that's kind of a contrarian move. They are the most expensive defense. I mean, it's only $4,100. It's not a huge investment, but they are the most expensive. They're playing the Jets, so I can see why on paper that would be good, but I don't know. Khalil Mack has an injured ankle, so he's not 100%. Wasn't real effective against the Patriots. Yeah, I know it was the Patriots, but I don't know. Just pump the brakes on the Bears.
I don't know, man. I'm of the philosophy now, especially after this season, you can always punt on defense, and you probably won't suffer that
I agree.
much. Like, even if your defense scores like very little points, which like mine did last week, this is like 4 points or something. Like, you're not even gonna be mad, like, because it's like, you're spending only like I think I actually rostered the Steelers this week.
That's fine.
And they have some expectations against the Browns, sort of for what I said before, but like, I don't know, like, even if it doesn't happen, it's like, I don't know, I only spent $2,300 on it, so it's
there's
like,
only $300 more you could have possibly saved.
Right, so I don't know. It's like, I don't think you should totally just like shoot yourself in the foot with defense.
Don't play the
fucking,
I don't know, Colts defense.
The Buffalo
Don't play
Bills,
the Packers defense
or
this
maybe
week, playing the Rams. Oh shit.
Yeah, right. Like, don't. Yeah.
Man,
don't
Chong just sent me a picture. It's the guy life hack. If you run out of detergent, you can just use beans. So this guy pouring baked beans into like the laundry detergent slot of his washing machine.
Man, Chong he's a G. I love him. Such a guy.
He gets it.
He knows. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know. I really don't want to talk about defense because I don't have anything. I don't have like a lot of insightful things to say about regular people, but I really don't have anything to say about defense that'll help anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
sweet.
That's pretty much that.
Oh, we got a new segment we're going to roll out this week that odd flex, but okay. And I don't really know exactly what to do with this segment, but I just thought the phrase is fun. No, actually, what made me think of this is completely unrelated to fantasy, but it's just kind of a fun story I want to share with our listening audience and you. So I don't know. I was out getting pizza with this girl on a date. It's first date, so we're out. We're having a time, eating dinner. So I grabbed the check or whatever, and the guy takes the card or whatever, swipes it, brings it back. So I'm filling out the tip or whatever, and I don't remember how much it was, but like I just put down like the tip, and then I look at the bottom of the so I put the tip down, and I look at the bottom where and it had suggested gratuity, and I was like. Was like 30% was like half of what I put for a tip. I was like, oh shit, I just put down a 60% tip, which whatever. Didn't really mean to do that, and I don't know if she saw how much I tipped. Probably not, but I might have just I wasn't trying to flex on her. Wasn't trying to look at me being a big tipper, but I just kind of stumbled into it, and I don't even know if she knew that I did that. Then I was like driving home, and I was like, "What? Why the fuck?" I was like thinking about, like, yeah, why the hell did I tip so damn much? So odd flex, but okay.
Spending money at the pizza place.
Yeah, casual 60, 75% tip. Not like it was that much, but... Yeah, so my odd flex of this week will be Keelan Cole.
What exactly are the parameters?
I don't know. We're gonna have to workshop this kind of on the fly.
Well, I'll go ahead and say that my flex for this week, Raheem Mostert, is an odd flex, but all right.
Who's my?
Like he's just a guy. Like he's definitely hadn't really heard his name before this past week.
My flex this week, actually, in real life, is TJ Yeldon.
That is actually an odd flex.
Just gives,
Why are you flexing TJ Yeldon?
It gives me a reason to watch the 8:30 the London game at 8:30 in the morning.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, you're right. I should get rid of that. So that's why it's an odd flex, because I'm not even gonna actually play him. Yeah, I don't know.
So weird. He's unplayable.
Odd flex. Well, okay. There you go. We're gonna workshop
really like that. All right. So anyway, moving into regular fantasy world here. What do you feel about? I guess I won last week, but the guy I was playing, I'm pretty sure wasn't. He's checked out. Like he had like 3 people that I actually got super worried last week because I lost the week before to a guy that left a guy that was on IR on his team, but the rest of his team just lit it up.
Worst, man.
And I fucking lost. Yeah, so I was worried that would happen again this week. It didn't by a fair margin. But I was worried because I had people like Andy Dalton and LaShawn McCoy and Mark Ingram. Like, they all got, like, collectively, like, 13 points between all of them. So it was, so it was just, like, awful. So I won, but I don't know. Regular fantasy is a weird place right now for me. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts.
Okay, I'm 4-3. I'm not great, but I'm in a good spot. I'm playing this week is 0-7, so and I'm already got 50 points between Kenyon Drake and DeAndre Hopkins, getting about 25 apiece, just about. So I mean, I'm feeling pretty good going into this matchup. Yeah, I don't know. I got a regular fantasy question for you. Jimmy Graham or Greg Olsen at tight end?
Definitely Jimmy Graham. 100% Jimmy. Not even a question.
I'm sorry, did you say Greg Olsen or did you say Jimmy Graham?
I said Jimmy Graham. What?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Did you say Jimmy Graham or Greg Olsen?
I said Jimmy Graham.
Jesus Christ. Are you doing this on purpose? Are you actually cutting out?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Jimmy Graham. Jim Jam. Jimmy Graham.
I heard Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham?
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Something's got to give here. No, you literally you were saying, dude, without a question play, and then you'd cut out.
I swear to God, I'm not doing it on purpose.
It seemed like you were for a minute there. All right, so there's Jimmy Graham's in the game. Yeah, you're right. He is projected to score 0.8 more points than Greg Olsen, so that's you always know.
Those ESPN predictions are a bunch of shit.
Maybe. But okay, yeah.
They never pan out for my guys, it feels like. I don't know, but anyway, I've got a lot of injuries.
You're still sitting on Le'Veon Bell, right?
Yeah, see, it's a lot of stuff like that where I'm like sitting on these guys that like I'm not too worried about depth anymore. Like I'm still not content with the people that I'm playing right now, but yeah, I don't know. I would like to be in a better spot. Like if Le'Veon Bell decides to, there's a couple of things that I guess I'm looking at. There's trade rumors of LaShawn McCoy to the Eagles. That's something I'm keeping my eyes on pretty closely. I know. I want that to happen because he's just not doing anything on the Bills. Like, perennially is just getting 10 points. Or last week he got knocked out with a concussion, so he didn't do anything. But with the Eagles, I feel like he could at least do something. You know, like I don't know what he
Doug
will
Peters
do on
would
the
find a way
Eagles,
to use
but,
him.
Like, I think so. I'd like to believe so. As a LaShawn McCoy owner, I'd like to think he'd be better somewhere else. And Le'Veon Bell, Le'Veon is just taking up a roster spot, which is kind of irritating because it really does limit my ability to play the waiver wire effectively, because then I have to give up somebody that, you know, I'm trying to obviously keep on my bench. And so I don't know. I'm kind of just getting frustrated with that. Because I don't know what to do with him. Like, if he goes back to the Steelers, I really feel like he's just not going to play. Like, I feel like he's going to sit on the bench and watch James Conner ball out. So I don't know. I have no idea really what to do with him at this point. And then I'm just dealing with injuries to Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. They're both knocked out right now. So I don't know. The only thing I really have going for me is that, like, my cast and crew right now are doing pretty well. Like, I got really lucky with George Kittle, Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah, you had some. You've done some nice. I applaud your waiver wire work.
It's been frustrating, man. It is. I'm pretty much trying to play keep away every single week now, so that people don't pick people up and use them against me. Like, that's what I did with Eric Ebron. Like, I hate Eric Ebron. I really hate playing him. But, like, I really would hate for somebody to play him against me and he gets, like, 30 fucking points. That would be the most frustrating thing. And it's the same thing with people like Corey Clement, and that's why I picked him up at first. Like, he was just like, man, I'd hate for somebody to pick him up, and Corey's just, like, balling out for some reason. And it's why I picked up Sammy Watkins, because it's like, well, Sammy Watkins is, like, I don't know, I feel kind of weird about him, but I don't really want somebody to, like, play him against me, so I picked him up, and I'm actually starting him this week just because of injuries. Like, I just ran out of people, and there's nobody left on the waiver wire, and I don't know. I don't know how to trade well in fantasy. If I could trade, I would probably try, but with the combination of several people, like, not paying attention to our league, and, like, I'm just, like, not very good at trying to.
I feel like trading works a lot better if we're in a league with more people that we know.
Yeah.
We can actually, like, have a discussion, not just just out of the blue. Hey, give me a guy for a guy.
All right.
Want to talk college football?
Yeah, sure, we can do that for a little bit. I got the game of the week here.
Doozy.
Georgia, number 7 Georgia against number 9 Florida.
Mm-hmm. And obviously we have to make the reference to Florida Georgia Line, the good band,
great band,
top tier,
top of the line. Yeah, I don't know. I did a little bit of research on Florida Georgia Line, actually.
Well, pray do tell.
I like. Well, by research, I mean I looked at their Wikipedia page for like 10 seconds when I was, because that's the first thing I was like, oh, so, man, Florida Georgia.
Which
Florida,
one are they
Georgia
from?
They're from both.
Oh,
that's why
one's
they're
from
duo. They're
okay.
Yeah.
Which one's the cuter one?
Yeah. I don't know. They're both. I don't know. Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly. Okay. What's the other guy's name? So not because I was going to say, if he's also named that has the same name as a college football coach, then we could discuss. So we got the Notre Dame head coach and another guy that are in a band.
That's right. But okay, get this though. It says right here, in terms of production, the band modeled their sound on bands such as Nickelback and 3 Days Grace. So,
it all makes sense.
Quote here: me and my friends drove trucks, listened to Garth Brooks, Alabama, Lil Wayne, and Eminem, said Kelly.
And we thought, well, let's make this sound like Nickelback. put it together and throw in a dash of 3 days race or whatever you said, 3 doors down or.
Yeah. This guy, Tyler Hubbard, a native of Monroe, Georgia, was a church worship leader who formed a hip-hop group, Ingenious Circuit. Like, who are these guys?
So how do we translate this into picks? What is there to discuss? You have the Swamp People versus Georgia.
I think we just have to compare these guys, and that's how we.
So which one's the one from? Where's Brian Kelly from? Is he the Georgia or is he the Florida one?
So Tyler Hubbard is from Monroe, Georgia. Brian Kelly is from Ormond Beach, Florida. So Brian Kelly, Florida. Tyler Hubbard, Georgia. So let's personalize.
There we
let's
go.
Find that tab on Wikipedia. Kelly married his girlfriend of 7 months.
I don't know about that.
Ooh.
That's pretty quick.
Ooh. He appeared in Animal Planet's Treehouse Masters.
Solid show. I'm a fan.
All right.
So we're a net -1 for only 7 months before marrying his girlfriend, +1 for Treehouse Masters. Keep going.
Tyler Hubbard married his longtime girlfriend. I don't know.
Okay, we'll say more than 7 months, so +1.
Yeah. He also has a child that Tyler Hubbard guy does. I don't know if that's a plus or minus.
Was the child conceived out of wedlock?
I don't think so, because it said they had it in 2017 after they were married in 2015.
Okay. I guess that's a... What do you mean -1? What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Seems like a normal thing.
In 2015, Forbes estimated that Florida Georgia Line's annual income was $36.5 million, split evenly between both men.
Can you hear me?
So that, yes, yes, I can.
Hello.
Can you hear
Check
me?
1 2. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is doing this. This is killing me, slowly killing me. So Brian Kelly doesn't have a kid.
As far as I know.
-2. So what's the score?
It's like 2-1 or something.
Do these fellas play the guitars or something, or?
I think they both play the guitar. But all right, here we go. Kelly likes to think of his career not as a career, but as a lifestyle.
Okay.
And immediately after that, it said he was featured in the song "Last Day Alive" by the Chainsmokers. So if that's not a lifestyle, I don't know what is.
I like that album.
Do you like that album?
I listen to it too much. I know it's bad, but that doesn't mean I don't. No, actually, that song's not. That's one of the worst ones on a bad album. Was it just him, or was it both of them on that song?
I guess it's both of them.
So
they featured.
Okay. So stock quote where it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. Okay. Anything else to differentiate these two?
Not on their Wikipedia page. I've got maybe on their individual Wikipedia pages. What you're looking at.
Let's see. I'll look up Brian Kelly.
Oh no.
Florida Georgia Line.
All right,
I'll see what I can find. See if I can find his old MySpace or something.
Tyler Hubbard. Hell yeah.
Well, we'll just go with his. I'm looking at Brian Kelly's Wikipedia. This guy went to Belmont University. They met at Belmont University in Nashville.
That's
okay,
great.
all right. Growing up, Kelly enjoyed sports. What a nerd. What a fucking teabag. Liking sports. When he was in his teens, his sister began to introduce him to country artists by playing him tapes on the way to the beach in exchange for Kelly washing her car. That's,
What?
you know, most country music is very pandering, and now I'm reading this and it's like, well, it's real. Playing my tapes and washing my truck on the way to the beach. I don't know. I got. You guys aren't very interesting. Give me Georgia.
I don't know. These guys,
Seven. Girlfriend is 7 months. That's too quick.
Give me a tie between Georgia and Florida.
A mutual parting of the ways. Called a draw.
Yeah, we'll have them. I don't know. The first tie in a
Well, then
long
it's impossible
time.
to have a tie in college football.
They play until
Blue in the
they're-
face.
Yeah, they they have to lower the octagon down to the field and have the coaches wrestle. Kirby
have
gets out
the
there.
strength coaches fight each other.
They have a bodybuilding
Who
competition.
can knock out the most reps at 225?
I'm getting dry over here.
Yeah, give me Georgia.
I don't know.
This was fun.
Yeah. It's great learning so much about Florida and Georgia line. I feel like I didn't learn anything about them. I feel like these guys are just a couple of guys that were found by Nickelback's producer, and now they're just a bunch of puppets.
What a lifestyle.
It's kind of, I guess, what they are. I don't know. Whatever.
Well, and I guess if you don't mind, I'm gonna close this podcast out with a reading from the book of Lee Fulmer. My favorite guy, my favorite character on Facebook. He's responding to a comment where someone's talking about the Browns game or something. Or no, this is about baseball. Well, anyways, Lee Fulmer writes, Tony Gwynn certainly learned a thing or two from me. His swing was pure gold, similar to mine. As for Baker Mayfield he's referring to, he really impressed me last night. Similar to my first college game in '74 against Akron. I entered the game somewhat unexpectedly and wowed the crowd. Oh, was I great that game.
Love Lee.
My favorite guy. That's not as good as the one last week where someone hit him with the chicken SpongeBob. Ooh. Mocking thing, and he got like real. He responded in such a way that was real funny. That that is very childish. I will. If you apologize, I will forgive you. Always brightens my day seeing him, his shit pop up on my feed.
I love that there's somebody doing this, man. There's somebody running this account that is
the more it happens.
He's been doing this for years.
The more eventually, like, I don't think it's a bit. I think it's a real dude. I think it's some delusional.
The only thing that's convincing me,
it's some delusional guy who actually probably, I don't know. He's obviously he's spewing straight bullshit when he's saying shit like, "Oh, Tom Brady, modeled his game after mine." Oh, shut the fuck up. Talking about Tony Gwynn modeling his swing after yours. Get out of here.
Right. I guess the only argument there is that, I remember reading Lee Fulmer stuff for sure, like a few years ago. Like it's been going for a little while now, and I guess that's the only thing that points in the direction of like this is an actual guy who's.
That's the only way someone can.
For some reason, thinks he's the talk of the town,
and will fucking let you know about it. That's the only
exactly.
the longevity of it. I don't think people, these damn kids today and their attention span would be able to maintain something like this as consistently as he does, as active as he is for this long. So
I don't know why you would want to do that. Like that's like not even funny.
Well, and that's what makes it funny.
Like, just doing
because
that.
it's in this weird circular way. It's funny, but then it's not funny, but then it's funny because it's not funny.
It's funny for me anyway, but if you were doing that, like ironically, I think it would just get exhausting. Because he does like pop up. Like I see him all the time.
He's like being a stereotypical old person on the Facebook. On the Facebook.com, like that's how they don't understand that. Shut up! Nobody cares.
Shut the fuck up, Lee.
Bitch.
All right, I'm glad you remembered that. I almost forgot that we were gonna do a Lee Fulmer bit. All right. Well, anyway, I think that'll wrap it up for week 8 here. Again, remember we're on YouTube now. We're on Facebook now.
Like,
we're on
rate,
Instagram
subscribe.
now. You can actually like, rate, and subscribe to our channel. Definitely the experts.
Definitely hit us up on the Patreon with some cash.
Hell yeah, we'd certainly.
We'd fade you. Thanks.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Bye now.